wanted to share a few things with you that I learned today. And I thought, this really inspired me. And so I hope that it will inspire and speak to you. I'm doing a Bible study right now, Amos, studying the book of Amos. It's by Jennifer Rothschild. And Amos was just a fig farmer. He was a sheep herder. But God had called him for a specific mission to really warn the people of Judah and Israel about impending judgment because of their sin, because of how they had lived their life. And, Amos really came against some opposition for what God had called him to do. And in this lesson I read today, there was a statement that Jennifer made that was like, wow, that's so true. She said that we are invited to live a chosen life, that we are invited to live as chosen people. If you look in, I think it's 1 Peter 2:9, it says that we are a chosen people, the royal priesthood, that God has specifically chosen us. And so what Jennifer was saying was that we are a chosen people, that we can live a chosen life, but the chosen life comes with challenges. Like, just because we're living chosen, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have challenges. We are going to face challenges. And so it's really just learning how to really cope with those challenges, how to overcome those challenges, and just really let those challenges strengthen you. I told somebody today that, I have walked through things before, and even though it might have shaken me, it didn't shake my faith. And so, those times in life where you go through these challenges, realize that you're still chosen. But it's really, how am I going to deal with this challenge? And, she said there will always be pushback from the enemy of our soul when we are living out our calling as God's children, as God's daughters, as God's sons. Like, the enemy of our soul is going to come against us. He's going to challenge us, just like in Amos, there was the high priest, Amaziah, who challenged Amos and really was like, who are you? Like, you don't have any authority. You're just a sheep herder. And Amos was like, no, I came on mission from God. Like, I have his authority to speak these things to you. And so, we're going to have those people who challenge us, that, they may come to us and say, who are you? You don't have any right to speak into my life. But if you've heard a word from God, you definitely do, because God's given you that authority. And I got to thinking about that. Sometimes pushback comes from the people who are closest to us. Just like in Jesus's time, like, he got some of the pushback from some of his family, from some of his townspeople, from the people that were should have been celebrating him and supporting him. They were challenging his authority. And sometimes we will find that too. Sometimes our challenges will come from people who are closest to us. And other times, challenges are going to come from people who don't know anything about us other than our name. And I've had that too. I've had people who have challenged me, and really the only thing they knew was my name. They knew nothing about me. They knew nothing about my character. All they knew was who I was, but yet they're going to challenge me. And that you just have to recognize that in 2 Corinthians 10:3-6, it says that though we war after the flesh, that we do not war after the flesh, but that we are warring after spiritual things. So recognize that people who challenge you, it's not the flesh, it's a spiritual thing. And so recognize that even if it's coming through the form of human beings, the root and who is behind it is the enemy of your soul. So, just take that for what it is. And then I also thought about, I was on a boot camp training today with our coaching team, and we're just so blessed that we get such great leadership training. It's all about becoming the best version of you and just really how they pour into us. But one of the other things I thought about based on my training that I listened to today is a lot of times the challenges to our calling and to our chosen life, it actually comes from within. And, we have to recognize that too. Thank you, Becky. It actually, I do it the same way every day, but some days it turns out a little better than others. But sometimes, it's things within ourselves that hold us back from fulfilling our purpose. And so, on our training today, that's part of what one of our leaders was talking about was, how sometimes we allow discouragement and, just those kind of things to really take our focus away from what we're called to do. And, it kind of sometimes will drain our passion from us. And, we really just have to look at that and just, identify that. What is it that's holding you back? Where is your challenge coming from? And what our leader was talking about was, one of the things he said, and I've heard this and I've said it myself, the only time we fail is when we quit. And, that is true. Like, the only time you really fail is when you quit. When you quit pursuing your dream. When you quit pursuing your passion. That's when you fail. But then he said something else that I had never thought about. He said, you only succeed when you quit. But it's when you quit telling yourself that you can't do this. It's when you quit telling yourself that people won't listen. It's when you quit telling yourself and you quit sulking. You succeed when you quit entering negativity land. You succeed when you quit getting upset and taking your ball and going home. I thought that was so funny because, if you think about kids on the playground, that have brought their basketball, to the basketball court and they're playing basketball and maybe they're not doing as well as they want, or maybe somebody's making fun of them and they just tuck their ball under their arm and go home. Like we succeed when we quit getting upset over everything around us and taking our ball and going home. Like, just stay and play the game. Sometimes you have to quit quitting on you. Like, how many times do we give up on ourselves? How many times do we not fulfill the promises we make to ourselves? We'll bend over backwards and we'll put ourselves on the back burner to fulfill promises that we make to other people. But we never fulfill the promises we make to ourselves. Sometimes to succeed, we've got to quit breaking the promises we make to ourselves. And we have to get in there and keep on going, keep at it, and not let that negative voice that's in your head reverberate. Like, we need to quiet that negative voice and start listening to the positive ones. Start telling yourself you can do this. Start telling yourself that it's not too late to really have your dreams fulfilled. Stop telling yourself that you can't do this. There's a quote by Henry Ford: if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so start telling yourself you can. Start telling yourself, I believe in you. Start telling yourself, hey, you can do this. Start telling yourself, hey, we've got this and we're going to make it through this. Start encouraging yourself. I think it was, I don't remember if it was Paul or David, but they said, I encourage myself daily. And so what is it? It's not enough to just be an encourager of other people. Sometimes you have to be an encourager of yourself. We have a saying in our coaching business that, everybody's going to get in the ditch sometimes. I heard this on a training too a couple of weeks ago. For every mile of road, there is 2 miles of ditch. And so just know that sometimes you're going to find yourself in the ditch. But what is important is what you do once you're there. Are you laying there? Are you decorating the ditch and just making a home there? Are you trying to find a way out of the ditch? Are you trying to make a path out of the ditch? That's what's important. And so I just want to encourage you today that living a chosen life, fulfilling your purpose, living who God wants you to be and who God's called you to be, you're going to be faced with challenges. Sometimes, again, that will come from people who are closest to you. Sometimes it will come from people who know nothing about you except your name. Sometimes it comes from within. And so you've got to learn how to deal with these challenges, how to deal with the negative voices, how to pull yourself up, how to fight back with courage, and how to really get back on that path to your chosen life and to fulfilling your mission, your purpose, and your vision. Hope that that gave you a little bit of nugget of encouragement today. And have a great weekend. Go out and enjoy this beautiful sunshine.